The Twins need a new manager for the first time in 6 years, and we're here to do a draft. What does that mean? Well, sit tight, get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Brandon Warne, a Twins watcher for 30 years who has covered the team for about half that long and worked on Twins.tv this past season. I am joined by Mr. Dave Brown, who has been a baseball writer at large since just before the turn of the century. And you can find his writing at Pitcher List. You can find my work at the Access Twins newsletter. And we have a very exciting concept for a show today. We're going to do a managerial draft for the candidates of this Twins job that just opened up. Twins, obviously, as we noted on Monday's show, letting Rocco Baldelli go after 7 seasons. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we're your team every day. We love to hear from our everydayers, whether it's in the chat, in the comments, 5-star reviews. Your input is invaluable to making Locked On Twins the best version of itself. And, as I said, we are going to be doing a managerial candidate draft. We're doing a snake format. If you're unfamiliar, I would be shocked because anybody who's watching the show probably has an idea from a fantasy sports draft or something. But I have seeded the number 1 overall pick to Dave. I will then pick second and third. He'll get fourth and fifth. And, if you do a fantasy football draft and you have 12 teams, you pick first and you pick 24th. The person at the turn picks 12th and 13th. So there's lots of benefits, drawbacks to each draft position, but we're going to try get a feel for maybe who each of us thinks is a good candidate, the best candidate, the most likely candidate the Twins will consider. And then with a 10-round format, I feel like we're going to get into some names that maybe nobody else is talking about, which I think could be kind of fun. So without further ado, Dave, are you ready to make your number 1 overall pick? And again, if you're not watching on YouTube, highly recommend that you go and do that because we do have the ESPN NFL draft style tracker on the bottom of the screen. I do not have any sort of sound. I guess I could do Luke Keeschel hitting the ball hard. But I don't think that's going to be a good draft sound.
That's just making me sad because he's got wrist surgery coming up.
I thought it was thumb. UCL in his thumb, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry.
I mean,
does he have wrist surgery too?
Small. Well, he's probably had a surgery on anything you can imagine. With that said,
there's more to come.
Who are you taking with your number 1 overall pick and why?
Well, I have an idea of who I think the best candidate is, but I'm not picking him first overall because I think he's spoken for already.
Okay.
So a little context on that. My first pick in the Twins manager draft is Derek Shelton, the former manager of the Pirates and former Twins hitting coach and friend of Rocco Baldelli, maybe former friend right now. I don't know if he's going to take this job. He's been a coach since like 1997. So he's got 25 years invested in all kind of different levels from the minor leagues on up. Obviously, the Pirates, he was the manager for a while. It didn't really go well. I'm not sure if how the development of the Pirates players has gone, especially in the offensive side. I don't know if that's Derek Shelton's fault or not. The Twins have said one of the things they want, according to reports such as the one from Dan Hayes, is that they're interested in someone who is well-versed in player development, Falvey said.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an intended goal, and I think you've got experience, you've got a Minnesota connection, You've got experience, meaning actual managerial experience, and lots of developmental experience along the way, not just as a hitting coach, but in the minor leagues for years and years and years. So Derek Shelton, I think, is a guy that would make a good new manager of the Twins.
Yeah, he was on the staff the last year that I covered the Twins, and I thought, good baseball man energy emanating from him. Players loved when he would walk through the clubhouse and he'd have little jokes with them and stuff, and just a fun vibe. But I think also someone who has done a little bit of everything, because I know he was hitting coach in Toronto. He did some baseball. What's that?
Cleveland too.
And then he was a coach for the Rays, then the Twins. I mean, he's been to different places, both on a staff and in different locations. I think, if nothing else, the Pirates job probably taught him a lot. Not a lot of things he took from it that he couldn't apply to his next job, wherever that is. And in the meantime, he's been working on Sirius XM radio. And I listening to him, have really enjoyed when he's been on. So not that that's any sort of prerequisite to be a manager, but I think he's well-spoken. I think he's well-versed, and the familiarity certainly would benefit him in this case. With the second pick in the 2026 Twins managerial draft, I am selecting former Twins hitting coach James Rowson, as he was so eloquently called by, is it Tom Kochman? That's Casey Kochman's dad, that's been a baseball lifer and has been called him Black Lightning. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be pulling that one out here. When the Twins hired him, I was doing a little research on him, and I found it was a book, and he's like, yeah, he used to call him Black Lightning back when they worked together. I think it was 15 plus years ago now in the Angels system, but
back when it was acceptable to call someone that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of the times. J-Ro, wherever he's gone, home runs have gone. He was also on that 2019 Twins staff. Just an exceptional communicator. Got some of the best seasons out of some pretty dang good hitters over the last few years. He's worked with on the Twins side, the whole 2019 Bomba squad. On the Yankees side, he's worked with Judge and Gleyber Torres and a few other guys over the years that have been solid to MVP caliber hitters. Giancarlo Stanton.
Can we give him credit for Trent Grisham?
Possibly. I actually heard the Twins were trying to acquire Grisham before he went to, because he was Trent Clark with the Brewers, right? And then became Trent Grisham, and the Brewers traded him to the Padres, and then the Padres to the Yankees. Is that I think the Twins
maybe.
I think the Twins wanted to get him after his first stop. And instead he went to the Padres. So, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know how much those two things overlap, if that's a thing or not. But Rowson also offensive coordinator / hitting coach with the Marlins too. So he's done a little bit of everything, and I think manager would be something that would suit him quite well. With the number 3 pick in the Twins 2026 managerial candidate draft, I'm taking current Yankees manager Aaron Boone.
Oh, slick bro.
And I don't know if that's stealing a pick from you. Feel free to say if I did, because I had Shelty on my list. So I'll fully say that I had Shelty on my list. I would say maybe somewhere in like the 4th or 5th round, I was going to take him.
I had Rowson 4th. I don't have Aaron Boone on my list.
Okay. So for me, Aaron Boone, I think, even though as we're recording, it looks like the Yankees will get past the Red Sox.
He ain't going to be available tomorrow.
He's not going to be available tomorrow. The Twins have, as I read, I think Christy Ackert wrote that the Twins had some patience, the ability to have some patience, because if they want to see how everything shakes out, she said the Twins and Rangers have the ability to have patience. I think it was Christy. There's a lot of speculation out there, so I could be remembering wrong. But I think even with the Yankees looking like they're going to the division series, I think it's put up or shut up time with them. And if the Yankees don't make the World Series, maybe even win the World Series, I think they look to make a change. And I think that Boone could be the one to go. There's been a lot of discontent among fans with some of his decision-making for years now. Between him and Cashman, I just feel like if someone's going to go, it's more likely to be the manager than it is to be the general manager. And so I'm stepping out on a limb here and saying, I think there's a chance Aaron Boone is available. He was a candidate when the Twins were hiring a manager when they landed on Rocco. I think Boone was probably one of the finalists or one of the well-regarded candidates, and he was even going to be on the coaching staff. In fact, it sounded as though he had maybe even looked around to see where maybe his family would live in Minnesota on Rocco's staff. So I feel like I'm coming in hot with James Rowson, and I can also say sticking with the Yankees family with Aaron Boone. How about we have you make your first pick of the second round, and then we'll take a quick break after that, and then we'll jump back into pick number 5 for you. So who's number 4 on your list?
I've got George Lombard, who has not been a manager in the majors.
And current role is,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what he's doing right
he's
now.
The bench coach of the Tigers.
Okay. I want to make sure I have full description on our little crawl on the bottom for when we're running it back and forth. So Tigers bench coach George Lombard, whose son, sticking with the Yankees,
also named George Lombard.
Yeah, sticking with the Yankees motif, is a prospect, an infield prospect, I think, for them, right? I think he's an infielder.
I believe that's correct. And he's a good prospect too. So,
very good.
But yeah, he has been a coach. I mean, boy, he's been in the minor leagues. I think 2010 was the first year he was like a hitting coach for the Red Sox organization. So he's been in player development. That's a key theme of my list. That's why I didn't really have Aaron Boone on it. Not that he can't do that, but he's been a manager in the major league. So this is a guy, George Lombard, who has been a highly regarded coach. You'd be stealing ideas maybe from a competent division opponent. He's got experience in lots of different winning organizations, from the Braves and the Dodgers and the Tigers. And I think he's been a candidate before and not picked, or a finalist, one of those kind of guys. He's 50.
Yeah, not quite on the Hensley Mullen track yet, but
right. So that's my next guy. He doesn't have Derek Shelton's managerial experience, but I think maybe a similar type of coaching experience prior to that. So that's a guy I think they'd be interested in. And you said we want to wait for my next one.
I think we'll take a quick pause. We got a quick break to get to, and then we'll do a few more picks, and we'll just kind of let this thing ride out. Not really sure how much time to budget for one of these kind of funny formats of shows, but we'll get through it as quick as we can, and hopefully people are as interested as we are. But when we come back, starting with pick 5 of Dave, and then 6, 7 for me, and well, you all know how math goes. But again, just a quick break. And on that quick break, we're going to talk about FanDuel. We're recording as an NFL Thursday night game is going on. The NFL season is here. I think you've probably figured it out. We're on week 5, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers, I should add, can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I don't think, we've been doing these ads for quite a while. I used to work in ads on a fantasy site, just kind of working on building the ads out for publication. And I don't think I've ever seen FanDuel with a better deal than this. And it gives you so many different ways to play same game parlays, props, in-game stuff. There is all different options depending on the flavor that you prefer. And whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. All right, Dave, we are coming out of the break here, and it is pick number 5. The Fighting Dave Browns with the 5th pick select.
A little bit of a surprise I'm surprising myself with Walt Weiss. And I don't know that Weiss is going to be available, but
it's Braves manager Walt Weiss, right?
Right. Braves, yes. He's
Rockies utility infielder.
Yes. Oakland A's Rookie of the Year after McGuire and
88?
Seiko. Yes, 88. Their World Series loser to the Dodgers. Weiss has a lot of major league experience, and he's been a hitting coach. And he was offered the Marlins job, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and turned it down. He's loyal to the Braves.
Was he on that 93 team? I can't remember.
The 93
Marlins. I don't know if he was there or not. I'm trying to remember. I know like Destrada was at first base, and I think they had like Kurt Abbott. Who played short? I don't know if it was Weiss. Chuck.
Yeah,
Carr
he was. I believe he was their shortstop.
Okay, so
first year.
He's not exactly Mr. Marlin, but he's got some. That's Jeff Conine, but he's got some roots in the organization for sure.
He does, and I think the Braves are gonna stay within the organization to replace Snit. But if they don't, I think Weiss is a guy he does have. I mean, it didn't go well, but it was the Rockies, so it's like you can't look at Derek Shelton's 1-loss record. You can't really look at Walt Weiss's 1-loss record as a manager, just because of the organizations that they got the jobs with aren't exactly top of the heap. So, that's a guy with some major league experience who I think would be maybe a little bit of a different personality than Rocco, but also kind of a major league background. And he's a guy I've always liked Walt Weiss because there was a time when people wanted him to be a manager or a major league coach, and he's like, I'm all right. I'm going to coach my kid's high school team. I think that was that's pretty cool. And you can't get more developmental than high school baseball. So that's where lots of your development happens. So I've always kind of admired him for that.
Well, and a lot of the managers that we even consider iconic from the last few eras may not have started where we remember. I mean, Joe Torre didn't start as Yankees manager. Right. Sparky Anderson was definitely more iconic in Cincinnati than Detroit, if you ask me, or at least that's where he started. You have who was the other one I was thinking of? Tony La Russa, starting with the White Sox, or the A's, and then the A's before the Cardinals. I mean, a lot of these guys, they have a first spot, and it's not always last spot or even the best spot. So right. I think there's some wisdom to the idea of Walt Weiss. It'll come down to if they decide that's a direction they want to go, is he willing to make that leap? I don't know how shocking was it to you that Snit retired, because I feel like, it was maybe, I don't know, a little more surprising than, say, I guess I don't know what to compare it to, but I feel like it was a little bit more surprising than most people are saying.
Bochy didn't retire, or hasn't yet, but it's sort of in that vein. Mm-hmm. I think maybe more surprising with the Rangers, just because the last 2 years did not go that well. I mean, he couldn't fix their problems. I don't know if that's on him, or if that's people think, well, that's the kind of manager he is now. He's not pulling the same magic like he did with the Giants 10 years ago. But, Snit he'd been to the top of the mountain with the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, are they, it's a job that's seen as very attractive to other, from the media standpoint, like what's the most attractive opening? And people probably are going to all say the Braves, maybe the Giants, just because it's San Francisco and Buster Posey's a hot youngster running that team. But so Snitker and Bochy have some parallels there because they both have kind of won the whole thing and they've been around forever in their own way. I mean, Snitker with his incredibly deep history of player development actually would be a great, even though he's an old guy, relatively speaking, he'd be great for the Twins, but that doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So, but yeah. I don't know. Where was I? Do I have another pick yet? Or
no? You did George Lombard. So just to reset, Derek Shelton, James Rowson. You had Shelton, I had Rowson and Boone. You had Lombard and Walt Weiss with pick number 6. I am taking current Brewers associate manager Rickie Weeks.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to talk about a guy who, again, we don't know how much these guys are responsible for certain aspects of certain teams. But if you want to talk about a team that develops, if you want to talk about a team that over the years, I mean, think of the very best Brewers players over the last however many years you want to go back.
Right.
Outside of Christian Yelich, and I'm sure there's a few others, but like some of the very best players all came out of their system, whether it was Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Jeff Jenkins. You've got obviously Jackson Churio now, and Bryce Terang has turned into a really nice player. They've just managed to defy all convention and expectations and remain not only a solid team, but top of the top in the National League, going up against a Dodgers team that has seemingly infinite resources, and the Phillies aren't far behind that. So I think Weeks, you get a lot of different angles. I mean, if you care about Midwestern, obviously he's been, he was a Milwaukee player who came through that same system as well. I shouldn't gloss over that too. I believe he was the JJ Hardy double play combo for quite a while there. Those two guys.
Yeah, they matched up for sure.
Yeah. And so you've got a guy who has played, was a very accomplished player. He's still fairly young, so he's going to be pretty relatable. The game has changed since he's been out of it, but not as much as it's changed compared to maybe some other guys. And by out of it, I just mean out of it as a player. He's still in it as a coach, associate manager. I feel like he's in an organization that's about as well versed in all of the newer school ideologies that make teams like the Brewers. Maybe the Brewers are the modern day Moneyball team. I mean, I feel like we kind of have Moneyball now in the circles that we run. It's kind of a naughty word or a bad word, but I feel like when necessitated, teams who win despite their budget still deserve at least a tip of the cap, right? And so Weeks is part of that, and I think that's a possibly a good fit. If you're gonna go the route of a new manager, there's two schools of thought. I want to say with a team that's likely to be young, and I've seen a lot of these stories say they're going to be doomed for the next couple years. Like, no, I don't buy that at all. But do you want a young manager who the team will grow with, or do you want an old school manager who's been there before and can kind of, do what Terry Francona did for the Reds this year? Now, granted, they got bounced in 2 straight, but just being there is a huge deal. But the alternative is Stephen Vogt, who got the Guardians to where they were going, and he had no experience at all. Then he blew out his bullpen again. I mean, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me, shame on, fool me, you can't get fooled again, I think is what George W. Bush said. So, Rickie Weeks, pick number 6.
Let me just to briefly comment on him.
Yes, of course, because
I like this pick because he's got some gravitas as a major league player. He's a renowned college player before coming to the majors, and I think he would have the ear of the clubhouse. He spent 2 years on the developmental staff in the minor leagues before joining Pat Guitar Murphy's major league staff for the Brewers. And if you look around the Brewers lineup, you've hinted at this or said it. They have a lot of players on their roster that they've brought up through the minors who aren't necessarily, the first pick in the draft or whatever, the hot stuff, kind of a super talent player that everybody thinks is going to be in the major leagues. They have a lot of guys who came up through the minors who, if they weren't developed by the organization in a positive manner, maybe we wouldn't see. So the Brewers have lots of players like that. So Weeks certainly has his fingerprints on that. And, also development continues in the major leagues. I think this is probably going to be a guy that the Twins are going to interview. I think it's a good pick.
And then with pick number 7, I'm kicking around a lot of these. I want people to understand that this is not pre-mapped out. A lot of times you'll have someone on a podcast and you'll give them all their questions you're going to ask, and you ask them in order, and there's not a lot of feel to it. We're going on feel here. I have a list. I'm going to flash it quick just so you can't steal it. But this is as we go. So for pick number 7, I'm going to go a little bit out of left field here. I'm taking former Nationals manager Davey Martinez. I feel like going back to the well with a manager who, he's a World Series winning manager, right? He's been there. He's got some of that Rays Joe Madden managerial tree to him, which Rocco Baldelli had. I don't think they're going to want to run from that. I think, frankly, they fired Rocco as reluctantly as they could have. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think I tried to make the point in a show recently that Rocco's still like their ideal manager. So it did, in some sense, it probably didn't compute to them that they were firing him.
No.
But obviously the time has come.
So with Martinez, it's someone who's been there. Obviously the fallout in Washington. Like they said with Rocco, there's a shelf life to these things. And so it's not always that a manager needs to go or has to go or anything. It's just sometimes things go a little sideways. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but with that said, I feel like you've got kind of that former grinder vibe, but a guy who's done the job before is a leader. So I'm going with Rickie Weeks and Davey Martinez for my 2 picks. You are now on the clock with pick number 8.
I like Chris Woodward, who's a Dodgers coach and
current.
Yes. He's a guy who basically helped Mookie Betts play shortstop. That's what
that's huge.
Made it a no-brainer for him to be considered. He's got experience. He was the guy that got fired from the Rangers before they brought in Bochy. So that didn't work out for him. But if you can, Mookie Betts, great talent, obviously, but if you can develop a 32-year-old ball player who hadn't played shortstop since high school, basically, maybe 1 year in the minors or part of a season, and he turns into better than adequate. He's one of the better. He's not going to win a Gold Glove, but he'll get some votes probably or some consideration for it. It's just an amazing season, and it turned out by the end of the season he was hitting better anyway. So that showed me a lot. So I like Woodward for that. My other pick, maybe this is a little bit out in the woods, but Bobby Wilson, who
Bobby Wilson. Ooh, I like that. He's current Rangers coach, right?
Yeah, he's a Rangers catching coordinator, I believe.
I love Bobby. Full disclosure, backup catchers were my jam when I was covering the team.
Yeah.
Not on my list, but I love the Bobby Wilson pick. That's exceptional.
He's got a little Twins. He's helped win a World Series with the Rangers. The Rangers might have another coach or two who are there's Schumacher, but there might be some other coach on their team that's been kind of a candidate for managerial jobs. I don't know. I think Bobby's maybe 44 or 45. So he's got a little bit of Twins connection. He's got lots of time and development in the minor leagues and in the major leagues. I mean, as a catching coach and a catching coordinator, you really got him to get into the weeds. So he's going to have some familiarity with pitchers too. I mean, he's not, that hopefully, I think we should hope that Pete Mackey stays. But it's good that it doesn't hurt to have a catcher running the team. So, and I like backup catchers the same reason you do. So Woodward and Wilson, my next two picks.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like. So to recap, you have Shelty, Lombard, Weiss, Woodward, and Wilson.
Yes.
Wilson. I have James Rowson, Aaron Boone, Rickie Weeks, and Davey Martinez. I'm going to make pick number 10, and then we'll skedaddle off to our last break, and then we'll probably hit the last ones a little faster than we have. But really, it's kind of like, which button do I want to push? I'm going to push one, but I'm going to need your help with it. Okay.
Okay.
Current Royals coach Vance Wilson.
Vance Wilson,
third base coach.
Yes.
This is more of I'm reading the tea leaves.
Yeah.
Than anything. I don't know much about Vance Wilson except that he is a widely respected. I think there was someone who tweeted players would love to go to battle for him. I don't think it was Vinny Pasquantino. I've seen a lot of Vinny Pasquantino tweets lately, but it was someone.
It might have been him. I thought I saw Vinny talking about him earlier today, giving him some love.
So Vance Wilson, as I recall, both Wilsons in our round 5 picks. Former catcher, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think he backed up. Did he back up Piazza? I don't remember, but
that's maybe in New York, right?
Yeah, he definitely was on the Mets.
Todd Pratt. I don't remember if Paul LaDuca was after that, if they were any overlap, but again, you fall back on the former catcher adage, but familiarity with the AL Central and all the good words that we're hearing about how guys would love to go to battle for him. I think that's more of a safety play for me too, where it feels like experienced baseball man, but still a rookie manager, still going to be part of the net that they cast. I don't know. Anything you can fill in on him before we go to break?
Well, I mean, he's regarded as you mentioned the players really, a run through the wall type of guy. So, he's a motivator in that sense. So it would be a little, not that Rocco isn't, but maybe a little more, maybe a little louder than Rocco. Maybe brings a little more consistently high energy to it rather than kind of the cerebral thing. So it would be a little different change of pace in that respect. So,
yeah. Well, I think that, again, it's going to be hard to say for sure how the job is viewed from a desirability standpoint, because it's also tricky that everyone you hear says the Rockies job for GM, which Thad Levine might be in the running for, could be the one that everybody wants just because it's your chance to put your stamp on an organization that has zero expectations of winning whatsoever. And so to be able to do what you want and how you want, there's some appeal to the Rockies job that way. Twins managerial job doesn't have quite that same level of gravitas, but it does have, Byron Buxton, and you've got 2 good starting pitchers, assuming they're not traded. You've got some young talent. You've got a good farm system. This is not as woebegone. This is not as Lake woebegone as maybe some
That's
of
a
the
local reference, isn't it? A regional reference.
Hey, yes, it's not as Lake Wobegon as maybe some of the national types are thinking. Let's do this. We'll take a break. Our second half of our draft is going to be faster than our first half, God willing, and we'll break down maybe mentally about some of these guys. But I still have a pretty long list here to get to, and I'm sure you do too. But first word. That first word is going to come from PrizePicks, because this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions like who to select for our new manager. But on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. I don't think we're going to get paid if we're right on here, but who knows? Don't miss the excitement, though, of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. It's right to be good, but it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. As if football couldn't be more exciting than it already is. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen passing yards, Saquon Barkley rushing yards, or rushing touchdowns, or whatever, and you're in the game. That's all it takes. It's super quick. You can make your lineup in under a minute. Under a minute. That's how long it takes for my kids to stop listening to me when I'm giving them very simple directions. Does that sound like I'm venting a little bit? Because maybe I am. But it's also fun to follow other players in the app, copy their lineups with one click. I don't want to copy anybody else's lineup, but I might want to see what people are up to, just kind of get some motivation, maybe a little inspiration. And there's also a new injury reboot feature. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. You're going to have to go check that out for yourself, though. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play that first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. And for our last spot today, game time. There's nothing like catching a baseball game or football game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. These are the things the average fan hates. No, I'm going back to that viral tweet. But actually getting tickets, that is the tough part, especially, you're trying to get to the Vikings game in London, Dublin last week. There's a lot of fun places to see a football game, or just the OG US Bank Stadium. Beautiful stadium and a whole lot of fun, but there's queues, there's login screens, surprise fees. All of that stress takes the fun out of it, and that is why I use Gametime. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans like you and me. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee that you will always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all those fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. And I love that. I love the seat views, panoramic seat views. I want to know what I see when I look to my left, to my right, or what I'm seeing right in front of my big fat face. And so I love that. Zone deals too. Pick the section. Gametime finds the seats and you save big. They find you the best deals. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, we're coming in hot with this last segment here, our last 10 picks of the 20-pick draft, meaning we are running real slow. I'm going to go way off the board here with a homer hometown pick. I'm going with current Twins television analyst Justin Morneau. And I don't think that necessarily, I got to type this up. I don't know that he'd necessarily be interested, but when I think of what I would want from a manager, it's what I like from a broadcaster, and it's very easy to not have this as a former player, is curiosity about the game, the desire to learn, the desire to know that the game will always teach you something new every single day. And I feel like that curiosity gets lost by a lot of former players who go into broadcasting, who want to go into coaching, or who flame out in coaching. If Morneau decides that he wants to get into managerial, whatever, and again, players who make $100 million in their career don't usually stick around and manage. Not only that, former players with young families, with lots of kids still in school. I don't know, but I've seen him pop up on some lists, and I think he would have the experience, the know-how, the curiosity, the willingness to embrace ideas as they become more and more prevalent. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if they were to do the thing where you appease the fan base, of all the names that people have kicked around, Justin Morneau is my favorite one.
Well, it can't really, and I don't mean to make this sound like a criticism of Morneau, but they can't really get him out there every day for the broadcast.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, this would be a more important job, I'm sure, to him. So maybe it would get him out there, but I don't know.
That is a thought of mine too, is that's probably a disqualifier if he doesn't want the full time, and it's full time, baby.
Yes.
Responsibilities and duties. That's a disqualifier.
You made a great point about, he made $96 million in his career. He doesn't need to work again many times over, probably. Or the aggravation. It is, I mean, he's kind of got a sweet deal where he can just go on TV when he wants and be a good broadcaster. So I might choose that too, because look what always happens with these guys. They get fired. Like,
right.
That's Joe Mauer was, it would be sort of like Morneau is from Minnesota now because he played with them. And there was maybe less to that relationship, being from the area than is worth it. So as Joe Mauer might tell him sometimes. So, there's some downside to a situation like Morneau being the manager, but could he do it? Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt.
Well, now we are on to picks 12 and 13. Let's see what you got.
Kind of in the vein of Justin Morneau, I've got Doug Minkiewicz and Nick Punto, and it's going to be in a tandem. They're both going to have to take the job. It's the Cubs in the '60s.
You're doing
the college of coaches.
I knew you're using one pick on these guys.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you want? You can use one pick on them.
Yeah, I guess that was the idea. Yeah, just so they could kind of support each other. Because I think I don't have any idea about Punto, but we know Doug Minkiewicz has been in the minor leagues.
Got a case of the red ass.
If he washed out or what, or he just wouldn't
adapt.
Yes, but I think he could. He still could. I think he can be redeemed. It's kind of like Darth Vader. I think guys like Doug Minkiewicz should be managers, but they need to learn to adapt a little bit and learn how to say yes when they don't mean it. Maybe that would be, he wouldn't be being true to himself, but I think it would be hilarious if Doug Minkiewicz and Nick Punto managed the Twins, and I'd kind of like to see it. It might end up disastrously, sure, but I think Doug Minkiewicz still has something to give to the game, and Punto too, just because of the T-shirts and piranhas and all that stuff. So, and I think Minkiewicz would need some. So maybe Punto is his bench coach. I don't know, but I'd propose it in a meeting. Sure.
The funny thing is, so when I was a young boy, I read a book and they had actually talked about the College of Coaches and how the balance of power was, I think it was a little bit like it was unclear, the delineation of power.
Yeah.
But I think it was ahead of its time in the idea that it takes a village to raise a baseball team. I mean, I was reading Ball 4 and you hear about Sal Magley, the pitching coach, and then there's like two other coaches, and it's guys who are baseball lifers just trying to hang in the game. It's not guys who are necessarily technical experts or anything like that. And again, that's late 1960s, that's just the era. I think College of Coaches was ahead of its time, and maybe a dual managerial system of two guys who have some history together. They didn't super overlap. I want to say the Punto Minkiewicz, the Punto trade would have been after the 03 season. and Mankiewicz was traded in 2004. I think they overlapped just briefly, but I'd have to see. But as far as personalities, you get the sense that those two guys would be, two apples falling from the same tree. So I like that a lot. Who do you got for your next pick?
How about Area Adrianza?
I know a very specific person who will be very happy that you said that.
The only reason I think that they wouldn't be interested in doing something like this, and not to jump on anybody else's picks, or someone like Hank Conger, would be like that he's here already. I don't know but he is in development. So, and as a person who is a kind of coach that, when he was a player and even now, people thought, hey, maybe that guy could be a manager someday. So he would make sense on a lot of levels. Maybe he doesn't make sense because he's already in the organization and they want somebody who isn't currently in the organization. I don't know if they're against Twins ties. I don't think it would go that far, but someone who's already here, does that make a lot of sense after firing Rocco? I don't know. So I like him in theory, but I don't know if it's going to be practical for them to hire him for this.
Okay, so to reset, I have taken James Rowson, Aaron Boone, Rickie Weeks, Davey Martinez, Vance Wilson, and Justin Morneau. You have taken Derek Shelton, George Lombard, Walt Weiss, Chris Woodward, Bobby Wilson. Dang it, Bobby. A duo of a tag team, Doug Mankiewicz and Nick Punto. And then former Twins utility infielder, A-Ray Adrianza. I love that pick. And again, we have a friend in the group chat that would like that too. I don't know that I'm going off the radar here, but one thing that I like about managerial searches is it sometimes allows teams to kind of like grab from organizations that are successful and try to steal talent from them. So there's Twins ties with this guy, but I'm taking with pick number 14, current Dodgers bench coach, Danny Lehman.
Yeah.
And former Twins catching prospect. He was around for a long time and then has kind of bounced around with some roles showing his proficiency in development and coaching and moving up the ladder in an organization that is very well known for those things. The Dodgers spend a lot of money, but make no mistake, they are also the money doesn't change the fact that they also develop some truly great players. I mean, even in recent seasons, they've had guys come up, young guys. Dalton Rushing is going to probably be a special player once he kind of puts everything together. But it's no mistake that even when they don't have free agents in every spot, they still manage to find some pretty dang good players in their couch cushion. So Danny Lehman is going to be my, I believe, 7th pick. Any thoughts there?
The Dodgers are a good place to look. Last year the Marlins plucked Clayton McCullough from that coaching staff, and it's I think that your point about the Dodgers' development is in kind of a similar way to the Brewers. They're sort of like the Brewers, but if the Brewers had money and spent it on some free agents, they're you look at some of the other players in the lineup, and Andy Pages is developed, and they have so many. I mean, the bullpen's been kind of a difficult place for them, and I think might keep them from winning the World Series. But the Dodgers always have more guys. I mean, they have this tendency to pick pitchers with injury history, so they need 1 million pitchers to get through a season, and they find them, and they do it better than most teams. So I don't know how much the coaches necessarily have to do with that, but the development comes from somewhere, and the Dodgers are a good place to look for a developmental-minded manager.
And with my 8th pick, so I got 2 picks after this, I'm keeping it in-house. Current Twins coach, Hank Conger. I think if I'm going to stay internal, I probably should have taken him ahead of Morneau, honestly, because currently on the staff, currently has you would assume a good rapport with the boys. And I don't know, anytime you can have someone who's a big wrestling fan in positions of power, I think you have to do it. So no, I've enjoyed every aspect of Hank Conger that I've ever seen, as far as in the clubhouse. He did a Domingo Ayala video and was exceptional in it. I think he's got the personality, the temperament to manage a team and go through the ups and downs. I think he's battle tested from this season and last season alone. As far as battles, there are so many different battles that you have to weather as a baseball coach, manager, player. And I think don't sleep on the fact that he was in the catbird seat for these last 2 seasons and what they became. And if he can remain on the coaching staff in any capacity, I think is evidence of how he's viewed in the organization. Obviously, we don't know what the staff will look like until they have a manager, and then to see who's going to stick around, whose contracts expire, and that sort of thing. But if I were to look inward, if I were to look internally, Hank Conger is that guy. That leads to you have picks 8 and 9 of yours. I have 2 more, and then you have big number 20. So let's hear who you have as we go. Let's see, 16, 17, 18, 16. Pick 16 here.
I've always liked David Bell. He managed the Reds.
Good call.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know what he was doing this year when Terry Francona was managing. He might have just taken the time off, but he's back in his time, had developmental experience in the organizations, and it might be a little too like Rocco, but he's not. They don't have quite the same personalities. He's more of a traditional-ish kind of baseball coach sort of vibe from David Bell, but a straight shooter and a guy who considered a player's manager, comes from an amazing baseball family with lots of experience in that regard. So I think it's a guy that you should talk to. I always felt like the Reds were, not giving him all of the weapons or options that he needed to be successful. I think they were always kind of stopping short. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, they made the playoffs this year under Francona, but Francona has been criticized for lots of pitching decisions and moves that have been weird. So I don't know. Did they get any better there? I guess to some degree you can't argue with Francona's success, but I don't know. So David Bell, and my other one, more of a developmental guy, Kai Correa.
I thought he might show up. Yep.
Maybe it's bad because he has the same name as someone that people know.
Is he currently on the Dodgers staff or the Giants staff?
I thought he was Guardians.
It might be, yeah. But he's is he current Guardians field coordinator? Maybe.
I think so. I know he has done that. Let me hold on a second.
You talk. I'll look it up.
Yeah, he's still with the Guardians. So
okay.
What I like about his, he's got like 1 day or something of major league experience as a manager, so not that much. But I think when Kapler got
director
fired.
of defense, strategy, base running, and major league field coordinator. So
yeah.
If you were to think of things the Twins need to improve on,
yes,
defense, strategy, base running. That's Towns of Fish, people the barrel.
I don't know if he's interested in associate manager if the manager thing doesn't work out. But, if the Guardians, I mean, they overplayed their hand. They're putting like Jhonkensy Noel at first base.
That's dunk. That's dunk.
DeLauder made a really nice throw and saved them a run in the game, but putting him in center field was weird. But anyway, they have, people like Schneemann who can play center or second and do it competently. So I think I'm going to give some credit to Correa for stuff like that. And, like you said, there's lots of things in the base running and fielding department that the Twins need to get better. And this would be a guy who can kind of work on that stuff. So I think he should definitely be somebody that they interview. I really like your Rickie Weeks pick, and I'd like to see them interview this guy too.
Can we talk about the name of the third base coach of the Guardians?
Remind me.
Rougles Odor.
Oh, so that's right.
Odor, and not one of the Rugnet Odors, but Rugless Odor.
Yeah,
what
I
an incredible-
remember looking him up when the Odors were coming up in the majors, and they're like, "There's more on the way. There's guys with funny first names, and of course, Odor is accidentally funny because it's not the same word in English. I don't think that is in Spanish, but
No.
yeah. So if you've got to be able to coach if your name's Rugless. It's a ruthless business out there.
All right, with pick 18, I'm taking, and this is just a logic play. I'm taking current Guardians associate manager Craig Albernaz.
He's on the lists. He's always on someone's list.
He's on the lists. It would be stealing from the team that just won the division. It'd be stealing from the team that Derek Falvey came from. I don't know him from Adam, but he's on the lists. And if I'm trying to win this quote unquote competition, I got to have some leverage plays here. So Albernaz, again, Stephen Vogt not going anywhere. So the upward mobility of the associate manager of the Guardians is probably not there. I've long been an advocate of Sandy Alomar Jr. I don't know if he just interviews terribly or if he's just not equipped to manage and is happy and good at what he does. But I always thought, former catcher and Spanish speaker and experience, I always thought Sandy Jr. would be a great fit somewhere, and it never happened for him. And I think that ship has sailed. But if I'm looking to steal from a divisional rival, I love your Kai Correa idea. I think he was with the Giants before and then now with the Guardians.
Yeah, he was. I think he replaced when they fired Gabe Kapler. I believe he finished that season.
Wow. How do you like that for synergy? Gabe Kapler is my final pick.
Oh, wow. I like it. I like off the out of the box. I like it.
Well, and the nice thing is, I'm just totally saying it as a name drop because I got his phone number, so I can text. So
quit calling me. Lose this.
Gabe Kapler. I'm gonna have to. You only get 1,000 characters for the crawl on the bottom here, and we're at 994. So your last choice will have to be 6 letters or fewer. So Mel Ott is in play or Ty Cobb. No, but with Kapler, I think this would be on the line of Falvey saying, "Listen, we've got a short window here before the ownership group decides to just start over with a new GM." President, manager, everything. Kapler would be the kind of guy you could say, listen, you're going to get a 2-year deal, but really, if this first year goes poorly, it's probably just going to be cleaning house. And if year 1 goes poorly for the Twins, like a lot of people think it will, there is that concern that Byron Buxton will still ask to leave. I don't think he's going to, but I just realized I didn't put Vance Wilson in for my pick at number 10.
So we're really out of characters.
Well, no. So it says current Royals third base coach blank. It's hard to manage this and talk at the same time. It's kind of like managing a baseball team.
Yeah, kind of, but no, it is. It is.
So with Kapler, I mean, he's been in the hot seat before. I think he could jump right into that. He's built for it. He's a quirky dude, but he has been in player development a lot of different places. And I actually asked Jeremy Zoll about this, but when Jeremy Zoll came over from the Dodgers, Gabe Kapler was the farm director for the Dodgers, and then Kapler left to manage the Giants. And I asked Zoll, like, okay, if you knew that Kapler was leaving, would you have stayed and maybe become their farm director? And he said, well, didn't know that at the time, and it was certainly a conversation. But he just doesn't think that much about it anymore because once you make that move, you can't. Right. Your heart has to be in the city you're in and the team you're with. So, but it was something that he had thought about. With Kapler, it's just I think he would be built for the stress of a 1-year blitzkrieg. Can you get a young team on track or not? Because if you don't, everyone's getting fired, and then they're going to go to the well with someone like Justin Morneau a year from now.
Right. So I've got one more pick.
So you've got one more pick, and then I'll reset, and then we will call it good. I'm going to delete some of these descriptors because we got
You're out of characters.
We're out of characters. We're out of characters in more ways than one because we have 19 picks in. We have picked 19 managerial candidates, and number 20, Dave Brown, is
Rocco Baldelli. I hope that the Twins have second thoughts, and part of me, if they can't get any of these guys back, to interview, or they like, this doesn't quite fit, or sort of like Goldilocks and her porridge or whatever.
What a great answer, though. Like, what a great answer. I love that.
It's hey, let bygones be bygones. He probably hasn't moved out of his house yet. He knows the organization. Maybe he's not developmental enough. But I just think, if you look at all the things that are wrong with the Twins, maybe the manager and the message are among them. But I also think it's kind of way down the list. Somebody made the kind of hack analogy that's like firing the violin player off the deck of the Titanic. I don't think it's quite like that. No. That guy went down with the ship anyway, so you're not going to do that. But
right.
I just think second thoughts. Maybe Rocco isn't so bad when you look at the other options that are out there. It's a big bad world out there, front office, and maybe we'll like I said, he probably hasn't moved out of his house yet. You could probably get him back with a nice phone conversation.
So I just want to recap here. James Rowson first, or you had Shelton first, Rowson second, Aaron Boone third, George Lombard fourth, Walt Weiss fifth. I'm just making sure I get these down.
You had Rowson.
Yep, I had Rowson.
Okay. All right.
You and Aaron Boone, you had George Lombard and Walt Weiss. I had Rickie Weeks and Davey Martinez. You had Chris Woodward and Bobby Wilson. I had Vance Wilson, Justin Morneau. You had Doug Minkiewicz, Nick Punto as a package deal, and A-Ray Adrianza.
Yep.
I had Danny Lehman and Hank Conger. And then you followed up with, I think, David Bell and Kai Correa. I came back with Craig Albernaz and Gabe Kapler. And then to wrap it up, you have Rocco Baldelli coming back, which, okay. So let's do this. Who is your absolute stab in the dark? Nobody we've mentioned. I've got two.
Somebody else?
Just if you were to go off the wall, someone that nobody's talking about whatsoever.
And I have to come up with this person now.
Do you want me to do mine first?
Yeah.
Chris Jimenez.
Okay. Another one of your backup catchers.
Another one of my back. Well, it was between him and Joe Madden.
I was thinking about Joe Madden.
I just finished Joe Madden's book a few months ago. I think he's still got some baseball left in him. And if you're looking for a team that can be motivated by goofy shirts and an old man that likes charcuterie boards and riding around in a RV and goofy music, I think you could do a lot worse than Joe Madden. So Chris Jimenez is my off-the-wall pick, though. He's doing some Sirius XM stuff. He's been all over the place. He's in my score sheet baseball league right now. He's in.
You have his number too?
I do not. I do not have his number. So I got Ryan Lemaire's number. I saw him at the Twins game, but I don't think he wants to manage the Twins.
I don't know. I don't like any of the other. I was thinking about Albernaz is not one of these people that you're talking about, but
right.
We didn't bring up Torrey Hunter. I would not interview Torrey Hunter. I don't know. I just don't.
Disaster. It'd be disastrous.
Yeah, I just. Maybe Ozzie Guillen at least had some. Ozzie Guillen was still a little off the wall, even though he was Bobby Cox's.
He'd be hysterical. The Twins just are not as much of a Hispanically influenced team right now. When they had Rosario and Adrianza and Polanco and all these guys, it might have made a lot of sense. I just don't know. They got Emmanuel Rodriguez coming up, Marco Raya. I don't know to what extent those guys have of that sort of influence. Can I just go over the list of guys who are also on my list that I did not?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have Bob Melvin, Bruce Bochy, Torrey Hunter, Skip Shoemaker, Jace Tingler, Toby Gardenhire, Nelson Cruz, Mike Redmond, Joe Madden, Nick Hundley, John Gibbons, Ryan Flaherty, David Ross, Drew Butera, Mark DeRosa, Ron Washington, Brandon Hyde, Brian Dinkelman, Matthew Lecroy, Joe Girardi, Daniel Descalso, Scott Servais, Mike Redmond again, because apparently I can't proofread, Buck Showalter, Brad Osmus, and Jason Varitek, who actually was a Twins draft pick back in 1993. Do you know who they picked also in that first round? I'll give you a hint.
I don't know.
I'll give you a hint. He's also someone that you just mentioned and that people have been talking about.
Torrey Hunter.
Yes. Torrey Hunter and Jason Varitek were their first-round picks in 1992.
Or Jason Varitek went to Georgia Tech instead, I believe.
Varitek, Georgia Tech. Yeah, he did not sign, and that ended up being fortuitous.
Okay, so you mentioned Toby Gardenhire. Does he have any chance? Does he?
I doubt it. I know people are saying, "Oh, they'll do whatever's cheapest to hurt." I don't think Toby's got a shot, and it's no disrespect to him, but I don't know. What about Glenn Perkins? That could be a fun off the wall idea.
I don't usually think of pitchers, oddly enough.
But he's an analytics guy. He knows a lot about the game. Got dry sense of humor. I don't know. Just another name I'm thinking of. There's so many names out there, and you know what? You and I will probably both be wrong. But
probably so.
If you're in the comment section, I want to hear who you would have picked. And
you still can't. It would have. It could be the guy. You pick him.
Okay.
Maybe they'll make it happen.
All right. Cool. Before we go, my favorite pick of yours, has to be A-Ray Adrianza.
Okay.
I just think he would make a superb manager. I've always loved talking to him when he was with the Twins. Very calm demeanor. I feel like he would have a really good calming effect in tough spots. So if I had to pick my favorite pick of yours, it's A-Ray Adrianza. Before we go, do you have one on mine? I think I know who it is because it's pick number 3 of mine.
Rickie Weeks.
Rickie Weeks, not WikiLeaks. Don't get confused. Don't get it twisted. It's Rickie Weeks.
I just think he'd only have to move one state over.
Yep.
That's not a small consideration. So in addition to the other things that he brings.
Well, time will tell with what this Twins team will do. 90-plus losses again. So we'll see how attractive this job will be. We'll see how attractive a lot of things will be. But first, before we get out of here, we do also have to remind you about MLB Game Night. It's we appreciate being your first listen every day for Locked On Twins. But for your second listen until the World Series champion is crowned, you can find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Again, every game, every night. We just finished up the third game of this night. Yankees moving on. But you can get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. This was a fun episode. It took forever, but I appreciate people hanging out with us. This has been Locked On Twins. He's Dave Brown. I'm Brandon Warne saying thank you so much, and we'll see ya tomorrow night. Gonna feed some ducks here. Yeah.